Ashtavakra Gita, Chapter 1, Teaching of Self-Realization, Verse 9. Burn the forest of ignorance with the fire of I am pure consciousness, and live liberated. Prasad Bharadwaj. Ninth Shloka. Eko Vishuddha Bodho Ahmiti Nishchaya Vahanina. Prajvalya Ajnana Dahanam Vitashoka Sukhi Bhava. Ignorance is compared to a dense, entangled forest. The teaching urges one to burn this forest of ignorance with the fire of firm knowledge, the realization of Vishuddha Bodha, I am the pure consciousness, and by doing so, life free from sorrow and filled with true happiness. In Vedanta, ignorance, avidya, is the root cause of all misperceptions, and it refers to not understanding or misidentifying the true nature of the self. Here, ignorance is compared to a vast, impenetrable forest. Just as a person who is lost in a deep, thick forest finds it difficult to navigate and survive without basic needs like food, water, or shelter, similarly, a person trapped in ignorance struggles to find clarity and peace. In this forest of ignorance, dangerous forces such as the ego, attachments, and aversions act like wild beasts that trap the individual, dragging them deeper into confusion and suffering. This analogy is powerful and frequently used in ancient spiritual texts. Ignorance, like a forest, hides the clear vision of reality. Just as someone might wander endlessly in a jungle, unable to find their way out, so too does the individual soul wander in the jungle of worldly desires and illusions, unable to perceive the truth of its own nature. In Vedanta, knowledge is often symbolized as fire, which has the capacity to destroy ignorance completely. This fire of knowledge is the realization of one's true self, the unshakable conviction that I am pure consciousness and not merely the body, mind, or ego. When a person firmly believes and experiences that they are Vishuddha Bodha, pure awareness, this knowledge acts like an intense fire, burning away the dense forest of ignorance that has enveloped the soul for so long. The journey of self-realization is described as one where, through spiritual practice, the turbulence of the mind gradually diminishes and a deep sense of peace begins to emerge. The mind, which is usually outwardly focused, turns inward and becomes calm and still. In this silence, it begins to recognize its true nature, pure, unchanging, and eternal consciousness. Antakarna Shuddhi, purification of the mind. As the mind becomes purified through spiritual practice, it sheds its habitual restlessness and agitation, making it more receptive to the truth. This process of purification is known as Antakarna Shuddhi in Vedanta. It refers to the cleansing of the inner faculties, mind, intellect, memory, and ego, so that they reflect the true nature of the self more clearly. Only a purified mind, free from distractions and illusions, can grasp the ultimate reality and realize its unity with the infinite consciousness. The purified mind transcends the dualities of the world and is no longer swayed by the pairs of opposites such as pleasure and pain, success and failure, or praise and blame. Instead, it rests in the pure awareness of its own existence. This state is what Ashtavakra encourages the seeker to attain, to live in the realization that I am the one pure consciousness, and to burn away all ignorance through this firm, unwavering knowledge. Consciousness is the source of knowledge. Everything that we experience in the world, we perceive because of the consciousness within us. It is the consciousness that illuminates the mind and senses, allowing us to gain knowledge of the world. Without consciousness, the mind and senses would be inert, like stones or wood. In Vedanta, consciousness is seen as the essence of all knowledge. This awareness of objects, thoughts, and experiences arises because of the consciousness that resides within us. However, the knowledge we ordinarily experience is veiled by objects and thoughts. When these external experiences are removed, what remains is pure knowledge or pure consciousness, referred to as Vishuddha Bodha. This is the untainted awareness that exists beyond the changing phenomena of the world. It is the very essence of the self, and this realization is the ultimate goal of spiritual practice. Realizing pure consciousness should be recognized by every seeker as the ultimate goal of spiritual practice. As a spiritual aspirant deepens their meditation practice, they begin to detach from the influences of the mind and intellect. Through sustained concentration, the aspirant starts to recognize that their true nature is not the body, mind, or emotions, but the pure, undivided consciousness that underlies all experience. This recognition is the essence of the knowledge that Ashtavakra speaks of in the 9th shloka. The fire of this knowledge, the awareness that I am pure consciousness, destroys the forest of ignorance. This burning away of ignorance is not a physical act, but a spiritual transformation where the limitations of the ego, attachments, and desires are dissolved in the light of self-realization. Overcoming mental suffering. One of the most profound aspects of this teaching is the understanding that all forms of suffering, whether they be physical pain or emotional distress, are mental in nature. Our attachment to desires, our fear of loss, and our identification with the body and mind are the sources of our suffering. These are all characteristics of the mind. When we lose something we are attached to, we experience pain, but this pain is purely a product of the mind's identification with external objects. When we stand firm in the awareness that I am pure consciousness, we transcend the mind and its limitations. In this transcendental state, the mental traits of suffering and sorrow cannot affect us because we have realized our true nature as the eternal, blissful self. In this state, we are no longer bound by the fluctuations of the mind, and we live in a state of inner freedom, untouched by the dualities of the world. Through this shloka, Ashtavakra emphasizes the importance of recognizing one's true self and remaining steadfast in that realization. When we live in the constant awareness of our identity as pure consciousness, we are freed from the bondage of ignorance and the cycle of suffering. The forest of ignorance, with its dense thickets of ego and desires, is burned away by the fire of self-knowledge. What remains is pure, infinite, and blissful awareness. Ashtavakra encourages the seeker to live in this state of realization, free from sorrow and filled with true happiness, by recognizing the self and abiding in its unchanging nature. This is the essence of liberation, to live as the pure, eternal consciousness, free from the limitations of the mind and the world, enjoying the peace and joy that naturally arises from this realization. Jai Gurudev. Dear Divine Souls, let us continue this journey of spiritual understanding with the explanation of the 10th verse of Ashtavakra Gita in the next video. Until then, try to gain a deep understanding of the concepts explained in the 9th shloka of the first chapter, Teachings of Self-Realization of the Ashtavakra Gita. Blessings of peace and love to all divine souls watching. Thanks for watching and understanding. Like, subscribe and share with your loved ones. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for future post alerts. Stay tuned to Chaitanya Vignaanam YouTube channel for future videos. Prasad Bharadwaj.